Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Ali Tootoonchi. I'm a chiropractor and a clinical nutritionist, and we're just finished doing the beautiful 21-day purification program. Yay! A lot of good results. I've already heard a lot of great results, and we're going to talk about some of them today. Today we're going to talk about what we're going to do after the 21 days over, right? We gained our short-term goals, right? What we're going to do to kind of continue this trend and continue being healthy. The premise is that as a society, unfortunately, we've kind of got away from eating real food. Don't we all agree? You know, just because of industrialization of food, because of the toxins that are abundantly available in our environment, we've kind of increased our toxic load, and as a result, we need to basically improve our nutritional value. So some of us, a lot of us, fed our bodies with calories or nutrients that were satisfying our hunger, but did not satisfy our nutritional needs. Does that make sense? Yes. And that is a huge, huge problem. And as a result, day after day, week after week, year after year, we compile these toxic loads in our bodies, and unfortunately, it will lead into malfunction, poor function, dis-ease, lack of ease, right? And then eventually disease, right? So the whole purpose of doing the 21-day purification program is to, well, few goals. One is purify the body, right? And it's not just a detox. You guys went through it. It's not a hunger game. It's not, you don't stay hungry. You're actually supposed to eat every 2 to 3 hours. That's how it should be, even post 21-day purification program. So write that down. Eat every 2 to 3 hours. And do we all, as a society, eat frequently? No. We eat in large amounts, once a day, twice a day, some people 3 times a day, but not 5 to 6 times a day in small amounts. So that's a huge, just doing that, if 10 people randomly, we pick them off the street and we just tell them, hey, eat in small amounts, even if it's fast food. Don't eat fast food, but even if it's fast food, it already improves their metabolism, right? So frequency is huge. If not, we start. Remember, those of you that were here before we started the program, I do basically blood sugar handling. I'll do it again. So it's simple. So basically, when we eat in the morning, or we're supposed to eat in the morning, right? So blood sugar is down, right? When we wake up, we eat, the blood sugar comes up, and then it kind of goes down, and then in the mid-morning we need to eat again. Then lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, maybe a late small snack, right? So we need to maintain the blood sugar steady throughout the day within a range, okay? So basically, if blood sugar, and this is time, right? As time goes on, we need to keep supplying every 2 to 3 hours. If we're not using food to supply the blood sugar, we're gonna have to depend on our organs, okay? So how many of us have skipped breakfast in the past, right? So when that happens, then we're here, and then boom. It's like, oh, well, so in English, we say break fast. We break in fast after 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever is the amount of time from the last time you ate, right? So you need to eat something right away. And basically, if we don't, then adrenals have to kick in and produce cortisol. This is the initiation of diabetes, by the way. This is how diabetes or insulin resistance and later diabetes starts in our body. So cortisol drops, right? So now we didn't use food, we're using our adrenals. Say, hey adrenal, if you don't control our blood sugar, we're gonna die. So why don't you bring the blood sugar back up? Make sense? So if the blood sugar comes back up here, and then the next time we eat, let's say now it's like 12 o'clock, midday, we eat a big lunch, nice pasta, with a lot of carbs, then blood sugar spikes up. True? And so now, body says, whoa, 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 we're way past our limit here. We have too much now. True? So then the stress goes on pancreas. And pancreas produces insulin, right? And then insulin's job is to lower blood sugar back to norm. Again, we're not using food, we're using our adrenals and pancreas. And if you keep doing this, guess what's going to happen? We're going to have imbalance, we're going to have fatigue. Have you heard of adrenal fatigue? That's what that is. Pancreatic fatigue will lead into insulin resistance, and later, what's the condition? Type 2 diabetes. Do we have an epidemic problem in our nation?
Yes.
And around the world, but it's really bad here. This is why. So simply, we'll go back to using food in quality, quantity, frequency. What does 21 Day teach us? Eating food in quality, quantity, frequency. Now, the question is, do we want to continue that trend?
Yes.
I'd say yes. All right? So, it's simple. It's very simple. We just have to apply. There is a great book. I highly encourage all of you to read it. I just brought it on to my staff, to our team. And we're going to basically talk about it more. It's something that's helped me personally. It's a simple rule. It's called the 5-second rule. How many of you have heard of it? No? Yeah. It's not a 3-second rule, you know, it drops on. No, we're not. We're talking about food, but it's not. Yeah. Well, the contaminants around is now 1 second, so you gotta be fast. No, I'm not talking about that. The 5-second rule, this is functional psychology. Yeah. So functional psychology says that we have different parts of the brain, right? In the prefrontal cortex is the initiation of action, right? How many times in many aspects of life, you know, the alarm goes off and snooze. 5 minutes later, goes off 5 minutes later, right? So the more we do that, we create a habit in our brain to keep doing it. Then brain doesn't know otherwise because there is no action. So the 5-second rule says, and this has been studied, and you can read the book by Mel Robbins, 5-second rule, in that if you start like right away, alarm goes off, so you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then action. You gotta take action. What's the action? Blanket off, and then you sit up. All you gotta do. For other people is saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No, I'm not gonna have that little piece of candy. That's it. That's the defining moment, and that's where we activate the prefrontal cortex. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that. There's a good, there's an audio book of it, and there's, obviously the paperback, but also I think she has talks on TED Talk, which is really powerful. In simple rule, and she actually had a lot of challenges in her own life, and that's how she overcame. Despite the success she had, she always would fall again. And so we have our downfalls. Life has its challenges. If we don't have challenges, that means we're not working hard enough. It's just how we overcome it. And this is about fuel and nutrition. So 5-second rule, apply it to every aspect of life. And so if we don't maintain the blood sugar steady, then we're going to have problems. Now we've taught the body. Well, some of you have done it for the second, third, fourth, whatever time. For some of you, it was the first time. And so you just introduce, the first timers, you just introduce your body to frequency, quantity, quality, frequency. Quality. Spandau process brings whole food nutrients together in this amazing protocol of the 21 day, right? Now, so what are we going to do post-program? Let's talk about it. Disclaimer. You read it? Thank you. All right. So congratulations. We gave you all a hand. You gave yourselves a hand. Now, let's see How everybody did? Crystal, do I have the form or not yet?
I'm on my last one.
Beautiful. While you're doing that, does anybody like to share their success? Remember that little, some of you were here before we started, we gave you the little top 3 goals that you might have during these 3 weeks. Do you still have it? Or do you remember what it was? At least number 1?
What color was it?
Awesome.
I'll start.
All right.
So my goal this time around wasn't to lose weight. It was to maintain, but also after a really tough holiday season with splurging and visiting family and getting extremely sick from travel, my body needed a reboot. So definitely helped with that, and I feel so much better.
Nice. So I call it revive or reboot after holidays. Anybody else? Javi, did you have your hands up?
Yeah, I'll share. So that's my second time. I did last year. And the reason that my wife and myself decided to go on it to give us a boost in starting losing some weight.
Okay.
And what I like about, so I'm on my we are on our 13th day today.
13.
13th. I lost about 8.5 pounds.
Oh wow, good for you.
Already. But what I like is the reset of the taste buds. So even though we don't like the shakes too much, but I feel that I don't crave. I like coffees. I like pastries. I love pastries and I love coffee, and I don't feel a need for any of these, even though I'm sitting in front of someone who is enjoying a nice piece of cake with whipped cream.
Right. Yeah. I used to love. My weaknesses used to be dark chocolate and what do you call it? Cheesecake. And now, I literally I'm like, oh, I gotta. My brain, you know. It was beyond the 5-second rule.
It's not even a question.
Now, I literally, like, we're at parties, you know. I actually, one time I was doing the 21 day and we went to a wedding outside the state. And I was still on my 21 days, all this food and everything else was around, and no problem.
Right.
So that's a good point. It's changing the perception of your body with your taste buds and what you think that your body needs. Right?
Exactly. So when you see something, I don't feel the taste of it and the craving for it because it doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Any other?
Sure. So this is my 3rd time doing it, and I feel like I've learned something new every time. And so this time around, I feel like I formed new habits outside of just eating better. So I'll give you an example. I really like coffee too. Like, I'm with you there. I love the taste. I used to like how it made me feel. It would give me that initial energy jolt, but now that I know what it feels like to not be dependent on it, I would much rather feel energized off of tea or drinking right amounts of water. So in the morning, I just wake up with a better mood overall. So that's one habit that's completely changed. Then another one is this time around we got much more creative with what we made at home.
Alright.
We experimented more with different recipes.
On that note, do you all have one of these?
Yes.
This is a great recipe book in regards to the things that you can make, really healthy. One of my patients earlier today, she's not here, she couldn't be here, but she made, I think it's on one of the last pages here. Let me find it for you. So basically it's a flaxseed bread you can make. Anyways, you can find it in there. And she only brought a little, I mean, you're more than welcome to grab a piece and try it. You can pass it around, I can share it. But it's really simple. It's you just get the ingredients and lay it flat on a cooking sheet or whatever in the oven. And within half an hour you can have this, and you can make it in bulk and save it in the refrigerator. So you just have to be careful because it could burn really quick, so you kind of have to figure out the timing. In the book, it kind of guides you through that. So there's a lot of good recipes, so a lot of substitutes, you know, like in our culture, Iranian culture, there's a lot of white rice, you know. I no longer have craving for white rice. Back in the day, if I didn't eat white rice, it felt like I'm not eating. Literally, it wouldn't satisfy my hunger. Why? Because ever since I was little, it was part of our food sources. And white rice is part of many cultures' food, foundational food, right? Now, what's the reason why we don't want white rice is, well, in the milling process, it's depleted of a lot of the nutrients, right? And it's also sprayed. So there's a lot of toxins with it, arsenic being one. And so we don't want it in our body, so there's a lot of good substitutes. What are some of the substitutes you all may have tried? Quinoa, black rice, forbidden rice, yeah? Brown rice is fine, except brown rice, you want to make sure the way you cook it to get rid of the phytic acid. Phytic acid prevents the absorption of many minerals, including but not limited to iron and other type of minerals. So, technically speaking, for that matter, white rice is better, yet white rice doesn't have a lot of other nutrients. Does that make sense? So, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're gonna have brown rice from time to time, what's the best way to prepare it then?
In order to get rid of phytic acid, you gotta, first of all, is the quality of brown rice. Second is you can soak it for a long period of time, like a few hours. We don't really use it in my house, but the patients that like to use it have told me that they actually cook it with other stuff, like a stew kind of thing, in a pressure cooker type of thing. So that might help eliminate some of that. One of the things, like, so you had lentil in your program, but no beans, right? Now you're gonna reintroduce beans. So beans and lentil have this compound called lectin, and that's what it gives people the bloatiness, the gassiness. So you can get rid of it pressure cooking, soaking it for long periods of time before cooking, or people who are on raw diets, they add vinegar to it. So you could just soak it and add vinegar, and the vinegar cooks it, and you could just eat it like that. So that's another way of preparing legumes in general, to get rid of the lectin, because a lot of us have digestional discomfort when we eat it, and we cannot get rid of that protein. So anybody else? Tony?
I didn't realize I was in such bad shape.
Okay.
But no, I guess my eating habit, I eat slow, and when I go to a restaurant, we go have breakfast or anything, everybody finishes in about 5 minutes. It takes me about half an hour, because I eat slow. But it hasn't, I guess what I'm trying to say is, getting into this program, I guess I realized, like you mentioned the other day, that I had a lot of toxins in my body. Because I ended up losing in 21 days, I lost 15 pounds, and I didn't realize, that's why I said it, since it was that bad.
Yeah.
But it kind of takes a while to get the habit, and
True.
Initially I was not going to do it, because, at my age, what's the problem?
Thanks for your honesty. No, that's true. I mean, Tony is a very active guy. He plays hockey 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, right? 2 times a week. And so, but despite that, having a healthier lifestyle and despite sports, there was a lot of toxins that had piled up over the span of a few years. So it doesn't matter what age. And I think the sooner we do this, the better off we're going to be, and also teaching our young, So in my house, I have 2 young kids, and so we've taught them, and they know how to eat better, right? So that's also very important. Anyone else that likes to share? Go ahead.
For me, going back to the coffee, so I didn't realize how dependent I was on the coffee, on my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
The first day I had such a horrible headache,
Yeah.
which I never had before.
Right.
And so I think that over the time I just had too much coffee.
Sure.
So if it's once or twice,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't occur probably, but
Yeah.
I probably had like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah. So there is neurostressors, and there's quite a few of them now that basically stimulate our nervous system. True. So coffee per se has a lot of good qualities, but unfortunately, as a society, we become too dependent on it to give us that burst of energy Okay? But you do it over and over, after a while, that part of the brain shuts down and it's a habit. So that exactly goes to the nutritional habits. And that is the way to kind of break it as well. When we start fueling the body and saying, oh, I don't need coffee, I can just drink enough water. Here and there I can enjoy a cup after the program, of course. Or during the program, you guys probably did green tea or yerba mate. But it was a necessity. At the first few days, if you've been so dependent on coffee, your adrenals, because what happens? You were not eating well, your adrenals were fatigued. That gives a push. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's a passive push. There's nothing functional about it. And if you become more and more dependent on it, I'm not anti-caffeine or coffee. It's okay to enjoy it, but if you need it over and over to function throughout the day, there's something wrong, and this is the picture of it. Does that make sense? So another beauty of this program is that brings that to our attention, and it helps reset our brain in changing habits. Great stuff. All right, let's move forward. So, just so you know some facts, an adult body is made up of about 60 trillion cells. All vital tissue are replaced in normal, healthy body in about 14 months. So technically, if you start changing those habits and resets, in 14 months, you can have a brand new body. But if you keep keeping the same habits and expecting change, it's not going to happen. So daily, millions of cells die and new ones are born. So we can reset. If cells aren't regenerating optimally, degeneration and disease occurs. What I was talking about earlier, right? Disease and then later disease, right? The quality of nutrition put in your body will determine the success of your body regeneration. At the end of the day, we have to teach the body to keep the nutrients. It's what we keep. That's the essential part of this whole experience. And that's very valuable. So, what's the new normal? So you want to continue eating the same way as you did between day 11 and day 21, the third week. Exercise and drink water. So the basic needs of the human body are simple. We need oxygen, we need water, we need food, we need sun, and we need sleep. If we do all these five adequately, no matter what level of stress in our society, we'll function okay. We actually function way above average. Yeah? So in the post-purification kits, so some of you just did the 21 days. Some of you also came and saw me for a specific functional nutritional evaluation to custom design your 21-day experience. So some other supplements might have been added. And some of you have been working with me for a long time. We're still working on removing layers. Some of you actually came back and based on the assessment, there are some new doors have opened. You know, some new challenges. Is that a bad thing? No. We want to address it. We want it to come to the surface and then go after it and allow the nervous system to again reset as far as that area of the body is concerned. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in maintaining the support of nutrients, in addition to eating like day 11 to day 21, there's some supplements. So daily fundamentals, general health daily fundamentals, some of you already use that, little packets that has the catalin, which is, got one right here. Do you guys recognize this? Yes. A lot of you do? Okay. So there's 60 little packets in there, at least one a day. For some of us, some of us might need 2 a day, depending on how much we exert ourselves, right? So basically, it gives you catalin, which is your daily multivitamin. Whole food multivitamin is very different to synthetic vitamin. So are we all clear on that? So we use standard processed products because it's whole food. It's not synthetic. It's not made in lab. It's actually from plants and animal sources. So catalin is the multivitamin. Tuna oil, omega-3 sources, very important. What's one of the major important reasons why we need to eat omega-3s every day?
Brain function.
Brain function. A major part of our brain is omega-3. And if you're not eating omega-3s, we're going to deprive our nervous system. That sets in fatigue as well. So tuna oil. And then lastly, trace mineral B12, so a lot of minerals. Now, one thing that happens with the human body, when toxic load goes up, what happens to the minerals? We get depleted. We start lowering the content of minerals. So more reasons why to battle the toxicity with having enough minerals. Why do we get muscle cramps? Toxic load is high, minerals go low. When the muscle wants to function, doesn't have enough minerals, goes in the cramp. In addition to hydration, very common time that happens for a lot of people is overnight, where body's detoxing. Does that make sense? So we need minerals. So this is a good reason why you need to implement it into your diet if you haven't yet. And then you can continue doing the shakes, the SP Complete Dairy Free or SP Complete or the chocolate, the vanilla, doesn't matter. You can do that in addition to whole food fiber. All right? So I'll basically go over, I think I have slides here for you. So I already talked about Catalin. So multivitamin, trace mineral products with enzyme support. Catalin supports activation of enzymatic systems in the body. SP Complete, dairy free. It's a vegetarian whole food supplement that can use as a meal replacement. So for those of you that are super busy, instead of skipping that breakfast, what do? You just put a couple of scoops or make a shake out of it. Sometimes I actually know that I'm gonna have a really busy morning between preparing the kids, taking them to school and whatnot, so I prepare at night. And I put it in the refrigerator and I just shake it and it's good to go, you know? As long as I don't make it thick, because if you make it too thick, then it gets, the water kind of separates. But I'm still good. I can do that. So I like to make it a little more watery, so it's good to go. And it got full array of nutrients. Okay? So whole food fiber promotes bowel regularity, healthy lipid and blood sugar levels, feeling of fullness. Why? Because it absorbs the nutrients and basically allows for proper passage. Okay? Supports immune system, gastrointestinal flora health, good source of soluble and insoluble fibers. That's what gives us the feeling of fullness. So you can use that still, It's not your typical, well, I'm not going to say the name, but the other product that starts with M, but it's food. It's actually food. It's nothing synthetic about it. Gastrofiber, it could be, you can use that or whole food fiber. Good support for healthy gut function and passage and elimination. Supports healthy gastrointestinal elimination. It has xylem in it. It's a natural laxative and stool softener that is high in soluble fiber. Apopectin stimulates intestinal bacterial enzyme activity. Okay, now to some of my patients, the reason I use whole food fiber is that some people have some sensitivity to xylem. Okay, so then we can test you for it. Additional supplements for people that have different type of challenges. Adrenal support, we can do Drenamine. Comprehensive adrenal support to help reduce side effects of stress, increase energy production, and regulate mood. Liver support, Livoplex, amazing product. Whole food based concentrate of support of detoxification, fat digestion, and overall liver function. It's actually liver gallbladder, because liver and gallbladder work together. Why is gallbladder important? Because it's responsible for our fat metabolism. Why is fat metabolism important? What is a big part of the brain made of? Fat. So we need fats. We need good fats. We gotta get rid of bad fats. We need a lot of good fats. We need healthy gallbladder. Hopefully you all have yours and hasn't been taken out. Gallbladder, very, very important in fat metabolism function. If you don't, we can still work with you and help you support fat metabolism. I have quite a few patients that had their gallbladders removed, but it's very integral part of our digestion. Digestive Zypan. How many people suffer from acid reflux in our society? It's an epidemic. Zypan, it's a first line of defense. Now, some people might need some other stuff, which some of you have worked with, to get rid of that, because we balance the acidity in your digestion, right? And so then goes away. Blood sugar handling, gymnema. How many of you tried gymnema? Amazing, isn't it? Right? Gymnema is a herb from India, and it just regulates blood sugar. As a result, reduces your sugar cravings. Those of us that still have those temptations, right? I no longer have that. I have overcome my sugar addiction. Sugar is an addiction, and there is a huge epidemic in our nation. Okay? So it's a good tool to use to overcome that addiction. Whey protein from Whey Pro Complete, it's a complete array of amino acids, proteins. We need a lot of good proteins. Now, some of you got to make sure you have enough protein in your diet, right? Because everything in the body needs protein. Enzymes are proteins, right? And so sometimes we might feel hungry because we don't have enough protein in our portions. So make sure whether we're eating a meal or a snack, we want to have 3 things in it: protein, good fats, good carbs. Good carbs are complex carbs. Does that make sense? So whether we're eating meals or snack, what do we want to have? Protein, fats, carbohydrates, good carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, not carbohydrates. So we still need carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are not essential. Okay? In science, we say essential amino acids. Essential means without it, we're going to die. That's why, to be a true vegetarian, you really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to break down very fast. That's why a lot of vegetarians don't do well. Okay? Protein is essential. It takes a lot of dedication to be a proper vegetarian. Essential fatty acids, good fats. Without it, we'll die. Our nervous system is predominantly fats. All right? But we don't have essential carbohydrates because it's not a need. It's become part of human diet over the evolution of human life in the past few centuries. But we still need some because as a race we've become used to it. But we need complex carbohydrates. And what do we have next? So basically maintain good choices. You want nutrient-rich food or food that are depleted. You know what I mean? So those cereals we used to eat in the morning with heavily pasteurized milk, the heavily pasteurized milk didn't have the proteins, didn't have the fats. The heavily processed cereals are majorly made of GMO sugar and GMO corn, and then other stuff. It's bankrupt nutrients. We want to put this in our body. Simple. So we talked about that. Continue eating as you would do between day 11 and day 21 of the 21 day.
What about dairy products?
I'm sorry?
Dairy products.
Dairy? Yeah, so cow dairy, as I was saying, pasteurization denatures the proteins. There's different caseins in cow dairy. If you get raw cow milk, after the 21 day, might be for 48 hours, that might be your first thing. Reintroduce raw milk. And if you don't have any reactions, then your body's fine with it. But you have to have full caseins. There's different kind of caseins. And when they pasteurize it, some of it goes away. So we have food in part, not in whole. Does that make sense? So then if you're okay, that's fine. You're not lactose intolerant and you're okay with cow milk. Majority of humans on earth are sensitive to cow milk. That in part has to do with the method or the pasteurization system, right? And as a result, generation after generation, we're just naturally sensitive. So it's not a necessity. If you want milk, there's a lot of good substitutes, like rice milk, hemp milk, almond milk, and so
Brazil
forth.
nut milk. Brazil nut milk's really good.
Okay, that's good. Right, there's so many different sources of better dairy that your body can absorb, your digestion can be happy, no problems, no reaction.
Is there a difference in the taste between the SK complete that is dairy-free and the one that is has dairy?
Right, so obviously the dairy-free doesn't have any dairy components. Having said that, Oh, I always do dairy free. I tried the regular one once, and I would say it's pretty much the same. Maybe a little less edge than the dairy free. Dairy free is like very complete. You know, that's why I like it. I always go for the best. Not that the other one are bad. It's just, you know, preferences. Now after you do the, you know, once or twice, you can try the other ones and kind of see how your body reacts. Or just buy the SP Complete by itself and then try that. Or SP Complete chocolate or SP Complete vanilla as your daily thing. And then kind of see how your body reacts to it. Yeah.
Are there any good like gluten-free breads that you can?
So gluten-free, I wouldn't buy wheat-based stuff that has been turned into gluten-free because the process of taking the gluten out, it makes it even worse. So it's digestively more stressful. There is breads that are made from almond flour, coconut flour, and there's no gluten, or buckwheat. Buckwheat is gluten-free as well. So it's not commonly available, but it's there.
Hi, can I borrow Doug for just a moment? Can I borrow you?
Dog.
Yes.
What did you do, dog?
Come on down.
I don't know.
All right. So we basically eat raw and steamed food, organic when possible. More importantly, I didn't put in here non-GMO, because the GMO process denatures food, and it's very, very hard for our body to digest. Incorporate, so snack again, you know, every 2 to 3 hours. So breakfast, snack, lunch. So breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, light snack. That make sense?
Mhm.
Small amount, 5 to 6 portions. Consume 2/3 vegetables, 1/3 fruit. So a lot of people, I noticed that they just bring lots of fruit with themselves to work or just throughout the day. Fruits are still fructose, which is sugar, so we don't need a whole lot of it, okay? There's some good nutrients we get from fruits. Now vegetables are a lot more dense in nutrients, okay? And a lot less in the sugar content. Does that make sense? So I would say 2/3 to 1/3, but sometimes I tell people if you really are on certain goals to reduce more body weight or toxicity, do 3 to 1 kind of thing. Okay?
3 veggies to 1 fruit?
Yeah. 3 servings of veggie to 1 serving of fruit. But 2 to 1 is fine for most people. And so vegetables, so that was about vegetables. So now let's talk about proteins. Whey Pro, SP Complete have really good sources of protein, or SP Complete dairy free. High essential fatty acids, eat a lot of fish if you can, or at least 1 serving a day. Free range organic meats and eggs. No cured, smoked or luncheon meats. Those are processed, so we want to stay. World Health Organization, I think it was in 2000, a few years ago, came out and told all nations to stop producing processed meats because it's one of the major causes of cancer. It causes cancer basically. So it's on World Health Organization website. You can go read all about it. So prepare, roast, bake, and poach or broil. Those are the best way.
How do you do that with salmon?
Which
With salmon, how do you do roast, bake, poach, or broil? How?
I just put it in the oven. It's easy.
Oh, really? No,
Put it in
Yeah.
a convection oven with just a little bit of seasoning and
Yeah.
pat of butter on it.
Put in the oven? That's
Salmon is easy to
Pardon?
make.
Put in the oven, and that's all?
I do a convection oven.
15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes.
It depends.
And barbecuing is bad.
Too much barbecuing is not good because what happens, it burns the meat and that turns into an oxidant. So we don't want extra oxidants in our body, obviously. Yeah. And it also depends because a lot of these charcoals nowadays are synthetically made. So the chemicals from that goes into the meat.
No, it's not gas. Like
Yeah, well, I mean, that's okay. But generally speaking, burning of the meat is not that favorable to the body. Okay? Occasionally it's fine, but
But it's tasty.
I'm sorry?
It's good. It's tasty.
But yeah, for kebabs, you gotta barbecue.
Every now and then.
On good charcoal, mesquite, you know. In our foods, but unfortunately it's been heavily processed, so we need good omega-6s. And omega-9, we get it, I think, you can get it from so many different sources, some in walnut, some in olive oil. So, half of your body weight in ounces of water every day. We talked about that before we started the program. So continue avoiding altered oils and trans fats, food that have sugar or low sugar. Artificial sweeteners are poisons. They kill brain cells. Processed and fast foods, stimulants like caffeine, alcohol, and soda. Again, we talked about extensively caffeine. We're all clear. I'm not anti-coffee. Good coffee is good, but in moderation. But if you're depending on it for energy boost, we still have to address some root cause, and I can help you with that.
So in regard to the artificial sweeteners, stevia and agave are in that category?
Again, it comes to the source. The stevia is a plant. You can buy the plant and grab a piece or dry it, and then just put and ground
What
it.
about the drops, the liquid?
Again, it's how it's prepared. I don't know. There's tons of different products out there. If it's processed, then it might have taken away. And I've heard that they might make synthetic stuff, even though it's a plant. But it's how was that plant raised? You know what I mean? So you gotta always look at the source. Yeah.
Where does honey fit in?
Honey is good. Again, as long as it's raw honey, true raw honey. It's high in the glycemic index and the sugar, but yeah, if occasionally you want to use it as a sweetener, you could, yeah. Food reintroduction, reduce a small portion. So when you're introducing foods, do it in small amounts, you know. Don't go have ice cream plus, you know what I mean? When you go dairy, like, go crazy. Cheese, ice cream. I was like, whoa. I mean, you might be good, but you just cleaned up. And the volume also is important. Again, quality, quantity, frequency, right? So basically, you can determine, so every 48 hours, we're going to reintroduce one food. So when we say ice cream, there's different components in ice cream. So let's start with the dairy. Dairy is okay, and then some sugars, whatever. So there's good ice cream, there's bad ice cream, like anything else. So just make the better choices. So see what happens. So not all of us are allergic to everything. We have food intolerances. So a beautiful part of doing a 21-day, post 21-day, we can find those intolerances. And that might be causing skin rashes or issues, noises and ringing in the ears, itchiness, allergic reaction in the form of respiratory issues. Those are all signs. Bloatiness, gassiness, all that kind of stuff. That's your body telling you, hey, I'm not having a good time with this. So at this time, you want to eliminate it from your diet. In the future, as you continue purifying, in the future, post 21-day purification, you might then your body be ready for it. You know what I mean? Because we change. We enzymatically change as we purify further going forward. So some of the, again, that's what kind of what I was saying. We don't all have allergies. We could have food sensitivities and everything in between. And the beautiful thing post purification is to find out if we have any of these intolerances. Does that make sense? Yeah. I talked about that, you know. So digestion could take several days. So we say 48 hours, it's a good average. Some foods we eat, you know, people say, you know, people come to me Monday, like, I had this headache on Sunday, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't function. I'm like, what did you eat on Friday? It's like, Friday? I'm like, yeah, you got off work, you were all tired, you went out with the friends, had some food that had MSG in it, a lot of carbs, a couple drinks. Take 48 hours, Sunday you woke up, you're miserable. It's not always the day or day after, it could take a few days. That's why we say 48 hours for true digestion and the outcomes of the digestion. Okay.
I actually do have a few questions
Go ahead.
on this slide. So when you're reintroducing food groups, so let's say say I wanted to introduce cheese,
Right.
but some people have certain sensitivities to certain types of cheese.
True.
So would it be like cheddar cheese, like first couple
Right.
days and then like a different
So
the next?
yeah, that's a good point. You
Okay.
can try different cheeses. Generally speaking, harder, heavier cheeses are okay for most people.
Okay.
But some of the cheese that is made around the world in this country, they're heavily processed. So there's processed ingredients in it.
Okay.
Okay, so in that industry, they don't use the natural enzymes as much anymore.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of synthetic enzymes. So you might be reactive to the enzyme or the taste enhancers like MSG that sometimes they add to certain, or the colorings. So there's colorings too. So those are the other things that you might be sensitive to, not necessarily the cheese itself.
Okay.
So the more raw you go and the heavier cheeses, that's why more people are more comfortable with
With the heavier.
heavier cheeses.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
got it. And then same story with nuts. Some people are allergic to just almonds or just peanuts, so
True.
that
True.
counts as one item.
Right. So like almonds, you can try soaking them and take the peel off, and see if you're still sensitive.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Good question. So if you still have issues that have not been resolved, or you like to find out more about your own body, how we can further help, make an appointment with me, a nutritional appointment, and then we can dig deep and find out the root causes of some of these issues functionally through functional nutrition. So you have to exercise, diet is very important, but without movement, nothing happens. The human body was designed for movement, and we have to move. And as a society, we've become slower and more sedentary, okay? And so we need to try to move at least 3 to 4 times a week in terms of exercise. If you do every day, at least 30 minutes, even better, okay? So discipline and the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5-second rule, amazing for all of that, okay? Bowel movement, normal bowel movements 1 to 3 times a day, and so you got to be regular. What goes in has to come out, and so if toxins don't leave the body, there's a problem. So we have to address the root cause, okay? So limit your toxic exposure at home work. So the toxicity questionnaire is intended to look at your toxic load before and after, okay? So choose quality food. Chewing is important. That's the initiation of digestion. Again, we're all so busy and we're on the go, we forget to chew. So we don't want big bowl of food kind of going down. We want it broken down right here and then go to the stomach. It makes the job a lot easier and it absorbs better.
So keep eating slow.
Yeah. Tony, you're the man. Tony has this class now. Don't overeat. Plan ahead. So have shopping lists. Should have abundant amount of produce, so it's available at home. So when you go hungry, don't start searching for what's not good for you, and what's not good for you shouldn't be at home anyway. So just stay on track. Continue the same way. Yeah, I talked about that already. There's some books you can read. We have a great lending library here if you need more information. Don't shop when you're hungry. Shop in the perimeters of the store, because that's where real food is. Inside the store, in the middle, is more packaged stuff. Shop regularly. So my wife and I would try to do once, twice a week, depending on our schedules, and we prepare. We even go to the extent of washing the produce and actually drying it and ziplocking it so it's ready to go. And so don't get lured into marketing propaganda. Natural means nothing nowadays. Have fun. All right.
Can you recommend on any specific bars for snacks?
Well, I thought you were for drinking. Bars.
Organic vodka.
Organic vodka. They're starting to make organic whiskey, but it's not abundantly available. It's coming out of Russia. Energy bars. Unfortunately, in order to make it taste good, they add a lot of MSG and taste enhancers. What do you need?
Any more of these? No?
Hand in your toxicity questionnaire, please. So, there's a lot of good ones, but what is it called? Perfect bar, thank you. Perfect bar is pretty decent because it's peanut butter based, but it also has high content of sugar. So you gotta kind of play it into your daily sugar intake, okay? So that's one I know. A lot of other ones, they have a lot of additives to enhance the taste of protein. Because I don't know if you guys have had raw protein, dried, extracted, like essential amino acids, branched chain amino acids, is bitter. So they add a lot of taste enhancers, so that's the problem.
But the SP is not very tasty if you don't add stuff to it. Right?
True, but it's basically real food, and that's what I'm saying, real protein. So the point I'm trying to make is that they don't add additives to enhance the taste. Yeah. Okay.
There's a trick that I do is if you get the SB chocolate, so now they've made it with cacao, pure chocolate. So then I do 2 scoops of the SB dairy free, and then I do a scoop of the veggie chocolate, and it's still dairy free, but it enhances the taste dramatically.
We add fruits to it, so we do
Or if you do that, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so-
Sometimes I'm.
juice vegetables.
Yeah, if you don't have time to do that, you do that, or you just do, I think, 3 or 4 scoops of the chocolate or the vanilla, and shake it with water.
I do coconut milk instead of the water.
Coconut, yeah.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you all for coming. It was a great 3-week experience, and continue. I highly encourage you to continue doing the good work that you've done. And then if you have any questions, please come and see us, and we can help you. Once again, thank you for being here. Give yourselves a great time.